Speaking once again this morning with Congressman Adrian Smith. Very glad he is here, taking time out from his busy schedule to stop by, especially as he travels around the district during the Martin Luther King holiday break. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.
It's great to be here. Always great to be home.
Yeah, I'll bet it is. A lot of things have happened here since you were last here, and I think number one we got to talk about is waters of the U.S. and some things that have happened in Congress. It looks like there is great opposition to this, and we're starting to see it in the form of support, right?
Right. There's bipartisan opposition to this. I introduced the House version of the bill that pushes back. It's the Congressional Review Act that stipulates we can pass a bill out of Congress, actually with just 51 votes in the Senate as well. And so I introduced the House version. Senator Ernst from Iowa introduced the Senate version. The Senate acted first, so that's why we took up her version, the Senate's version, over in the House. Now, we expected the president to veto that, and the newest information is that, yes, he has vetoed that. There has been somewhat of some reluctance over the last few years to not pass anything that we know the president will veto. I think we need to get over that. I think we need to establish the record. I think that because this waters of the U.S. is such an overreach, I think there will be members of Congress who wish that they would have voted against what the president's agenda has been, basically in favor of this bill, even though we didn't have enough votes to override a veto. But moving forward, this helps establish the record, and that's important as we move forward.
Do you think that establishing the record then would assist, would show maybe the regulators and the bureaucrats that maybe some of the things involved in this bill are so unpopular that they won't move forward with some of those things?
That's part of it, and also, it's important to note that there's a legal action that is taking place as we speak that really pushes back to this waters of the U.S. It's an overreach. The EPA engaged in a propaganda campaign that they overstepped their authority there as well, and so the EPA could. This is one of those issues where there was some ambiguity in how, say, the Bush administration carried out the rules and regulations. There was some confusion and lacked some clarity. But instead of the Obama administration kind of bringing people together, they have just moved so far, really, to the left that it's dividing so many folks around the country. This is impacting local communities, not just farms and ranches. I know Chadron had a significantly delayed project because of this issue. I would think that even larger cities will see this federal intervention as a way that undermines the local authority, local control, and certainly the innovative ideas that can take place at the local level.
The overreach, I guess, is the biggest thing that a lot of people are talking about in D.C. over the last 3 weeks. And part of that is due to the gun control measures that the president established as part of executive orders. Talk about that and where you see that actually really going.
Well, I don't see it going very far. I mean, the president so far hasn't really laid out the details. He's just kind of announced that he will go around Congress, which surprises no one. And so that's despite the fact that the Supreme Court now has agreed to take up the immigration issue, where the president so gleefully announced that he would go around Congress. The courts are stepping in, and I'm very hopeful that the courts will rein in this executive branch. But back to the waters of the U.S., over 80 times Congress, back when they passed the Clean Water Act, over 80 times they stipulated that it only applied to navigable waters. And the EPA effectively has just gone in and written a line through all of those references, and without a vote of Congress. Now, naturally, I'm concerned. I have a vote in Congress, but that's not why I'm concerned. I'm concerned as an American, as a citizen who cares about my community, who cares about our Constitution. The president, I think, has disregarded the Constitution in many ways. This is just one of them.
So do you see this happening? He has just months now left to go. Do you see these executive orders on other issues coming as he tries to cement maybe a legacy over the rest of this year?
Sadly, I do. In fact, his chief of staff made an announcement last week that I think he referred to it as an audacious or certainly an aggressive effort on the part of the executive branch to issue executive orders, and it's troubling, and especially in the middle of this presidential debate. But that's probably a good thing that we have a presidential debate to discuss these matters, because I would hope that our next president will not try to one up Barack Obama with more executive orders, but actually undo some of these things and get us back to what we call regular order, going through the Congress as is appropriate, as our founders intended, and how the American people expect things to operate. And the president so eagerly going around Congress is very troubling, and I think will have a very long-term negative impact on his legacy.
What's your thoughts as we go into the national security thing about the releasing of some of these sanctions against Iran due to the fact that they have released some hostages that they had been keeping for some time?
Well, I did not support the Iran deal, so-called deal. I'm concerned that it gives Iran so much when I don't think they should be trusted. Now, they released some Americans. They seem to be held captive for I'm not sure what reasons, but they're released. I'm glad they've been released. I think we should probably celebrate that. I mean, there are some journalists and some folks. I don't think there are any concerns that they were turning on their fellow men and women in uniform like the Bo Bergdahl situation. But the president, has not consulted Congress on these matters, and especially the hostage release and so forth. So I hope that we can get more information on this. I certainly have my concerns because I just don't trust our president. I think he has made some decisions that are not in the best interest of our country. And long term, like I said, I think there will be some negative consequences.
Yeah, the energy situation right now is really very, very difficult, at least for the oil companies. And releasing these sanctions isn't going to help a lot because Iran has indicated they're going to simply put more oil on the market at a time when we really don't need to do that. And so how does Congress kind of get their hands around this, and is there anything they can really do as we look at what the stock market has done in response and the whole energy situation?
Well, we need an all-of-the-above energy approach, and Washington, D.C. has gotten too involved in kind of picking winners and losers in the energy sector. And so now I think it's a good thing that we have lifted the ban on exporting domestic oil virtually. We have resources now that we didn't have or didn't know we had not so long ago. So I think that can help establish more stable policy, more stable economics, if it's even possible in the energy sector to try to stabilize that. But it's a tough industry. And when you look at the world impact, whether it's Iran, like you mentioned, or whether it's our own domestic sources, I know that this isn't the first time when there's been a lot of pain here domestically as it relates to energy production. North Dakota was booming so much. Last year, not so long ago, and so hopefully, though, we can achieve more stability long term, and hopefully consumers will benefit. I think consumers are benefiting right now with low gas prices. Consumers also, I think, realize that it won't be at this price forever, and so that's probably why they've planned to get a more fuel-efficient vehicle long term, so that reduces overall consumption too, which can impact the price. So, and then the ability economically for energy production and exploration, to look down the road to the future in a way that they need to invest. And so they've got some big decisions to make, obviously, and I hope that the government will get out of the way and let the private sector flourish and innovate and come up with new ideas. not expecting the government to try to solve this with legislation out of Washington, D.C.
All right. Very good. So I guess, these low gas prices are nice, but it's also, if you're looking at your retirement plan, it's not such not such a good thing.
That's right.
So with the stock market situation, there's really not much Congress can do about what the stock market's doing. The stock market's going to have to correct itself on its own, right?
Let's not invite Congress to try to attempt to fix that marketplace, because I think that could lead to long-term, very negative impacts.
All right. Very good. Well, we appreciate you stopping by. Anything else you want? I think we pretty much covered the gamut. You're a pretty busy guy. You following the campaigns? Have any thoughts about Miss Palin endorsing Donald Trump?
I was kind of surprised that she didn't come out in support of Senator Cruz, but I'm not sure what all her calculus is. I'm concerned about, when I read various excerpts of Donald Trump's books and so forth, his fundamental philosophy of things. I'm just concerned about that. I can appreciate a steadfastness, and I can appreciate the fact that we need our next president to be strong, to be bold, to be a deep thinker, to step out and really lead. So that's what I'm looking for in a candidate. I've not settled on a candidate myself, even though we're next door to Iowa, and I read a lot of press out of Omaha about the presidential candidates. But certainly our election system is alive and well in the United States of America.
Can you support Trump if he's actually the candidate, if he's actually the guy that's nominated in later this summer?
Well, I'll take one day at a time. I'm anxious, though, if he would be the nominee, he's going to have to assure many Republicans that there's evidence of his changing his mind on many of these issues that Obamacare, he's called for a single-payer plan. That Obamacare didn't go far enough virtually. That's a concern that I have. You've got, just numerous other issues, whether it's the life issue, taxes. I'm not convinced he's a conservative at this point. I won't say that no one can change their mind. I think, information is presented to folks that I would hope will always be at the top of their mind as they think through the issues. But we'll see what happens in Iowa. Sounds like Ted Cruz is still leading significantly in Iowa, and New Hampshire, a different situation. But I think the presidential primary is far from over.
Okay, very good. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.